Hello and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh and in this video we shall discuss the feature news for today, that is 27th December 2021. Today's featured news is on economically weaker sections. In this featured news we will understand what is the criteria which the government has fixed to be able to give 10% reservation for the economically weaker sections. What is the criteria? We will also understand what are the criticisms of this criteria because of which there is an uproar around the country. The Supreme Court has also questioned the criteria because it does not fall into the parameters that were fixed by the Constitution. We will also understand the issues that arise out of this criteria, and we will understand what are the way forward. How should a reservation policy be actually designed when we want to benefit the society, yet it is not going ahead with those things in mind, right? So we will understand those wisdomful criteria as well. Before that, let me welcome all the people who are present here online and all the people who are watching offline. Good evening to all of you. Hello Netra. Hi Anonymous. Good evening Ashish. Hello Pooja. Hi Hima. Hello Bhavani. Hi Sam. Good evening Vakram. Good evening to all of you. So let's start this conversation, and opinions are most welcome, right? So before we go ahead to understand what is the particular criteria, let me share with you that there has been some issue with this criteria. The criteria of 8 lakh of the family income was fixed by the government to be able to determine who is economically weaker and who is not, right? On the basis of this economic weaker criteria, the person can get as much as 10% of reservation in educational institutions, in employment as well, right? In studying and in employment as well. This is in addition to the already availing reservation that people have from marginalized sections. But mind you, those things are mentioned in the Constitution, and does this criteria of economically weaker section, does it also follow those provisions or not of marginalized sections? Let us deal with it, right? So since this criteria was as same as the criteria, 8 lakh criteria for fixing the creamy layer of OBCs, other backward classes have been getting 27% reservation, and in this particular category there is a category of people who are in the creamy layer, those people whose backgrounds are such that they have started getting the benefits of reservation and the income of family is more than 8 lakhs. So they come under a bracket called as creamy layer. This is an OBC category. Now the economically weaker section category also has been placed with the same 8 lakh rupee of category, and this is where Supreme Court says what is the basis of fixing this particular category. Why 8 lakh rupees? Is this arbitrary or not? Supreme Court has actually questioned this arbitrariness, and therefore the government has formed a committee to examine the income criteria for determining the economically weaker sections. See, that is why in news. So let us understand what is the category that the presently we have. So these are the 5 important categories. You are eligible for 10% reservation if you have household income of less than 8 lakh a year. This is first. The second one is agricultural land less than 5 acres. The third one is having a house smaller than 1,000 square feet, and fourth one is of having a residential plot less than 100 square yards in municipality and 200 square yards in a non-notified municipality. That means that if we do not meet these criteria, if we fall short of these criteria, we will become a part of economically weaker sections. And this actually represents a very, very humongous chunk of Indian population. Around 95 crore people, 95% people in India have an income less than 8 lakh rupees, right? More than 80% of people fall in the category where they do not hold 5-acre land. So many of the people will fall in this category. Then what is the use of giving them only 10% reservation? This is question number 1, right? Then we also raise questions on the parameters that have been fixed. When we do not have data on the municipality area or non-municipality area, why this particular criteria of 100 yards and 200 yards? Arbitrariness. This is what Supreme Court has said. Let us understand the provisions in detail. Good evening, Sunny. Good evening, Surya. Good evening, Tiyasha. Good evening, Vakram. Hi, Sam. Good evening to all of you. Right. So, first of all, this category is called as the economically backward classes, economically weaker section category. And a very similar category has been what was created called as economic backward classes for the people who earn less than 1 lakh rupees. Less than 1 lakh, they become a part of below poverty line. But this is not poverty line, economically weaker section. Below poverty line was fixed on certain basis, on the basis of the category of goods that people would intake, that they would purchase. There was an income basket, there was a basket of the kind of entities they would purchase. What is the category for economically weaker sections? Also, let us understand what is the test of constitution on this, right? So, the provisions under this category, first of all, they say that this was formed because of the 2010 Mr. S.R. Sinho committee recommendations. S.R. Sinho committee recommended certain important things because of which this particular criteria was formed, and this is the committee recommendations. So let us quickly understand. It said specifically two things, right? It mentioned on the right, if you can see this, it mentioned reservation to EBCs may be provided based on two essential aspects: economic backwardness and 50% over limit should be given. Economic backwardness combined with social and educational backwardness. Through 8 lakh criteria, we can definitely adjudge if the person is economically backward or not. But social and educational backwardness of the family will not be the criteria which has not been fixed by the government right now. So this is not according to the committee recommendations first, right? So they have only looked at the economic backwardness, not social and educational backwardness. What a major shortcoming, right? So this is what was recommended largely by the S.R. Sinho committee in 2010, on the basis of which we formed this policy. 2019, this act was passed, right? So let us look at the other parameters on which this particular policy falls short. So this is not in sync with the constitutional provisions. See, what are the provisions? See, firstly, Article 46 talks about giving this to social justice, people with going through social injustice and backwardness, right? Social injustice and backwardness. Are we able to counter the argument that these people are socially backward, people who are getting this kind of benefit under economically weaker section? They might not be socially backward. Yes, economic backwardness is what it is, but Article 46 says that people should be getting reservation because of social injustice and backwardness, right? So this category is not met. Directive principles of state policy is not met. Then what is the category? See, also a community of people are to be getting this kind of reservation benefit, right? So this is not a community itself. This is a particular family, and this is a fluid. This is very much fluid in nature because this will keep changing with time. If my family starts to earn 9 lakh rupees, tomorrow I will be ahead of this community. I will not be a part of this community. But people who are going through social injustice, through times of social injustice, they will keep getting the reservation. So this was the background, social injustice and backwardness, right? Look at the reservation in educational institutions. When we talk of reservation in educational institutions, we speak of people being in a particular class, socially backward and educationally backward. However, this particular economically weaker section category that we have created, is it falling under socially backward and educationally backward? No, right? We do not know the educational standard of those people. We do not know whether they are from a rich, a poor Brahmin who are socially forward community or not, right? So this category again is not fulfilled. Reservation in public employment, right? Similarly, in public employment, this was for education. We are looking at Article 16 for public employment. When we look here, the categories mentioning the backwardness and not adequately represented in the services under the state. How do we know that? There is no data to provide, or there is no criteria which has been fixed, which talks about not adequately represented under the state. So we will have to look at this category as well to be able to provide reservation in employment. It is not available right now. So these categories have been, although written in the constitution, but not adhered to when we provided the 10% reservation to economically weaker sections. Where am I coming from is the constitution itself. Article 46, Article 15, Article 16. You should be able to look at the Bare Act. Go to PM Bakshi, look at these articles. You will be able to quickly understand that economically weaker sections are not the constitutionally fixed criteria under Article 15, 16 or 46, right? So directly quote from the Constitution. We do not have the data to understand if the upper caste people are also receiving this kind of benefit, because they are not socially backward. This is what the fact says. What about the 10% quota, lack of basis of 10% quota? When people are getting 7.5% reservation in tribal communities, 15% reservation for the scheduled caste communities, and rest 27 for the OBC community, what is the category for giving 10% for rest of the people? Other people are receiving this benefit out of the proportion in the population, not this one, not 27, but other two. What is the proportion of providing 10% specific in number? And what about the Indra Sahni judgment, which said that there should be 15% ceiling, 50% ceiling in total reservation? This has exceeded the limit, right? So the government says that we will ensure that there are more seats in organizations. More seat means the number of seats for the rest of the community remains same, and for the reserved community it increases for each of them, benefit for everybody. But then it is already breaching the rationale of maximum 50% reservation, right? We are one of the criteria for Steno committee was that only those people should be a part of economically weaker section who are in the untaxed bracket. If the income is getting taxed, that means they're already above a bracket. They are having decently paid. 2.5 lakh rupees is the income above which people get taxed. So put only those people under economically weaker section for which reservation is given who are earning less than 2.5 lakh. Otherwise, if we are putting 8 lakh as the criteria, we are giving this benefit to many people. On the other hand, we are taxing them also. Look at the inconsistency. So this is a policy which was not designed with the constitutional structure, the legal structure in mandate, right? And no basis for asset identification, right? If we are identifying these assets in municipal areas and non-municipal, non-notified municipal areas, then these areas themselves have not been notified in the right manner. What is the ground for fixing 1000 yards and 5 acre? These are the kind of questions that are raised, and that is why a committee has been formed to be able to tell what should be the actual criteria for economically weaker section, rational ground for the same. Okay, so what can be possible impacts of this? Impact of this that एक बार वो आप चखा दिया आपने लोगों को खून चखा दिया, so people will want to have more of reservation. There will be increased demand for various communities to get reservation. See, government reservation, the statistics itself says government reservation is not the policy for development. It is only a populist demand that because of which people throng behind these kind of populist demands. But reservation, there are hardly any seats in government. It was never there. So, but these are the ways in which government tries to attract. Economic development cannot happen through providing reservation, but yet log pagal hai. Right? People are crazy behind this, overburdening the educational institutions. Educational institutions already have shortfall of funds, right? Now we are increasing the capacity of students studying to 25%, right? So, jahan 100 the, we will increase them to 125. On the other hand, we are not giving them funds. Also, there is a backlogged seat. If you understand, there are a lot of backlogs. There are reserved categories and their seats are not filled many times. So backlog seats are also there. We're increasing the number of seats in all. So it is actually going to overburden financially the institutions. So this is not something very good that is going to happen to institutions. It will also affect the merit quota, right? So the people who are getting through merit, it will affect their quota, right? And dilution of caste-based reservation. So till now, people have been demanding for caste-based reservations, but now there will be increased demand for reservation from communities which are economically downtrodden. Very good proportion of that community. According to this criteria, we would have maybe 70-80% of the population demanding for 10% of reservation. So there will be fight for reservation also. Where is the reservation then when there is huge competition here? So this is why I would say not very nicely designed. That is why an introspection is required in this policy. The way forward here, very beautiful suggestions have been put here. Now the first thing is to be able to look into the norms for exclusion, and accordingly design a category, right? So look at Article 15, 16 and design a category accordingly, right? Then look at the purchasing power in the rural and urban areas. Look at the purchasing power to be able to understand who are the people who deserve to be here in this category and not. We have to have a survey behind this. The government should be able to respond to that particular value, whether it is 8 lakh or 5 lakh rupees, right? Along with that, to avoid any collateral damage to other reservation provisions, it should not have some impact on the already availing reservation groups or categories. See, so this is the way forward in a situation like this right now, right? So what we covered around economically weaker section is the present category of people who can avail this. What are the issues associated with it? Constitutional issues associated with it. We studied Article 46, we understood 15 and 16. We also studied other provisions because of which this category does not fit the way it is in the present structure. We also studied the impact of this present structure. We also studied what can be the way forward, right? We studied various aspects of economically weaker sections, right? So after having studied all these perspectives, there's a question put forward to you. Discuss the economically weaker section category reservation along with the problems associated with it. There are numerable problems, right? 5-6 points, and you will be able to solve this, right? So let me look at the questions. Quickly, Asim says, but sir, when you say 2.5 lakh, doesn't it include farmer income from agriculture? Farmer income has been excluded from categorizing into that income which should be taxable. So if you, I don't know, I have definitely gone through the mathematics part where we used to learn how to tax in class 10th ICSE board. I had learned that. So in that, what was spoken of was some income which can be exempted for tax. For example, women get some exemption in taxes. Similarly, agriculture income, if we are earning, say suppose 3 lakh rupees from agriculture and we earn 10 lakh rupees from other sources, say 7 lakh rupees from other sources, 7 lakh. So 7 plus 3 does not become 10 lakh rupees for my income. My income is only 7 lakhs, which will be taxed. 3 lakhs won't be taxed. This is how it is. So agriculture won't be included. Well, see, Vakram says a reform is needed in economically weaker sections as clarity is missing. Yes, absolutely, clarity is missing here, and reform is needed. That is why we have covered this feature here, right? The committee will respond and tell what is the criteria which should be adhered to for economically weaker section. Then it should also stand the ground. It should also stand the ground of the fact that there are constitutional provisions which are getting violated. What are we talking of? We are talking of the social backwardness of the community. Are we looking into social backwardness? Because when we speak of a community like Dalits, it has been proven through various ways that this is a socially backward community, right? Even when the community receives reservation, there will be social maltreatment of Dalit community, and that is why they are given reservation, right? So Dalit actually means broken in NCERT books. It is written as broken, but the community that we are actually talking of here is scheduled caste, some caste which have been mentioned in the schedule of the constitution. Along with this, there are other categories. For example, what is the level of their exclusion in government services? Do we know, for example, if my father earns rupees 6 lakhs, I should be eligible for economically weaker section community and other parameters also below the level. But if my whole community, my mother, my relatives, all of them are in government services, they are representing in the government services, then what is the need of putting me or giving me the reservation when they are already representing, my community is representing? So since the other parameters of reservation are community based, the community is getting excluded. This is, in this particular case, in economically weaker section case, this is not a community. This is an individual family that we are talking of. We are talking of a fluid section of society which may start earning more, which may start to earn less. A very, very vague parameter, and this is why increased scrutiny is required. The governments might lure people into reservation policies. People might vote for them. But statistics also says that there are only few government seats. Proportion is very, very small. And people, although are fighting for it, yet incremental benefits are not there. Leave that apart. Economically weaker sections, they have their own problems, right? As you people also rightly agree. All right. So this is the conversation for today, and I hope that you will be able to note down the valuable points, the issues associated with this present criteria, right? Sir, if you can give examples of educational backwardness, educational and social backwardness. These are the two factors that are taken together. Educational backwardness is first time going to college, educational backwardness. But educational backwardness has to be seen with other backwardness, social backwardness also, right? But if you see only educational backwardness, then this is not according to the constitution, right? Article 15 does not warrant of only educational backwardness, right? This is what is mentioned. Good evening, Ravi. Good evening. All right, so this is the conversation. Please note down the facts here so that you are able to represent the points. Get back to constitution, revise your fundamental rights, fundamental duties, directive principles of state policy through this itself. Through this, because it was covered, revise all of them together. You will be done with that revision, right? And if you like this initiative, do share some love through likes, comments, and shares. We will see you again tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock for current affairs, and after that the featured news discussion, right? Asim, great that you are asking these questions. Each of you questions are encouraged, and we will find out a way to answer all your questions, right? Thank you for this participation. Your contribution, your participation shows the level of dedication and efforts. So thank you, and great effort each of you. Thank you, Bhavani. Good night, Vakram. Good night, Ravi. Asim, good night. Good night, Ashish. Netra, good night. I will see you all tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Right? Thank you.